Hello, my name is Yelenы Челокиди, and I'm here now with David Klotterbuck, the most famous mentor all over the globe. Hi, David. I'm very happy to this chance to ask you a couple of questions for the closing event of Mentoring for Female Entrepreneurs of Kazakhstan, program by the European Bank of Reconstruction and Development. I do know that we are pressed for time due to quite tight schedule, so let me jump into the questions. The first question, why does a business leader need a mentor?
It's very lonely being a business person, being an entrepreneur on your own. You need somebody to talk to, and the people inside your organization are often the last people that you can speak to because they're so dependent on you. They'll tell you what they think you want to hear. And so having somebody from outside who actually brings some experience and can help you to bounce all these things off and to learn from your experience, to predict what's going to happen. If somebody's been through all the stages of growing a business, they can ask you questions that you wouldn't have thought of. And one of the ways we describe the entrepreneurial development is that the mentor is there to help you not only to grow your business, but particularly to grow you. So when we see businesses fail, one of the key reasons that businesses fail is simply because the business grows and has bigger and bigger demands, but the person themselves, the entrepreneur, doesn't grow at the same speed. And so the gap between what they can do and what's demanded by the business gets bigger, and eventually everything collapses.
Okay, thank you. And in this case, what are the key qualities a mentor should possess?
We've done a number of studies of this, and we always come up with very similar things. One of the things is the ability to shut up. Mentors who talk all the time don't just miss the point. We find that really effective mentors talk for about 20% of the time and listen for 80% of the time. So it's not about saying, right, I've got all this knowledge, I'm going to dump it on you. That's exactly what mentors should not do. It's not appreciated at all. So that's one key quality. Some of the other key qualities, we talk about the 4 C's, which is compassion. So really trying to understand the other person from their own perspective, putting yourself into their shoes. Curiosity, being really interested in their business and themselves and the way that they make sense of the world, and what you can learn from them as well. Because young entrepreneurs frequently, they're in a different world. They're addressing things that actually are really interesting for you, and you can learn from as well in your own career. So then there's the courage, is the 4th C. The courage to ask the really difficult questions, the things to say what needs to be said, to be the critical friend sometimes. Because something nobody will tell people, the entrepreneur, you really need to think about this. And the last one is connection, and this is related to the African concept of Ubuntu. I am because we are. It's actually creating connections, networking, and so forth. But it's also about looking to create the connection between the entrepreneur and the wider world that you see and you're both operating in.
Mm-hmm. So very interesting. And let's say a person has these qualities. So what is the way of a mentor's professional development? How can they go it, and what is the essence of it?
What we find is that mentors who've not had any training in the role tend to talk too much. They tend to think it's all about giving their knowledge, when actually it's about drawing out the expertise and knowledge in the other person and co-learning. So that the training really helps to do that. Fortunately, we do have professional qualifications as a mentor. So you can be qualified through the European Mentoring and Coaching Council at foundation level, practitioner level, senior practitioner level, or even master practitioner level. And so one of the ways we're looking at, in some countries we've been addressing this, is creating mentoring academies. And in the mentoring academy, you really learn as much as a coach does, and in fact very often more, because you learn how to use your enormous experience, your wisdom in helping somebody else. And so we often call this coaching plus.
How could you describe maybe the difference between mentor practitioner or master mentor? What's the difference between?
Oh, I think in terms of the EMCC qualifications, if you're at foundation level, you're just sort of starting. You're getting to know it. When you're at practitioner level, you're growing a body of knowledge. You have a lot more tools to use, and you'll feel more confident. When you get to a senior practitioner, you have even more tools, and you're able to go out and mentor other mentors. And at master practitioner, you've got an enormous tool bag, and you hardly use any of it. And this is what we see is the more confident you get, the less need and the more tools you have, but the less that you need to use them.
Wow. David, you have quite experience in working with mentoring programs all over the world. So what mentoring programs for women, and maybe particularly for women, female entrepreneurs, do you know, and what is their impact to the society maybe?
There have been some lovely studies with people like the Sherry Blair Foundation for Women. What they show is that the impact of mentoring women entrepreneurs is significantly greater than the impact of mentoring male entrepreneurs. There's a lot of reasons, but if you take it at the micro level, for example, what they found, I'm sort of exaggerating this slightly, but you give the money to a man in a village in Africa to go and set up a business, and then he'll get drunk one day and it'll go. He doesn't have this dedication to a business. He wants to be out there with the cattle or whatever. You give it to a woman, she buys a sewing machine, and because the woman has the greater responsibility or feels greater responsibility for being in the home. And keeping the economic well-being of the family, she is more likely to succeed. Now, this sounds terribly stereotyped, and there's so much more to it. But I think this was one of the examples that Sherry Blair herself gave when we were on a platform together. It was a real example in a village in Africa. So we can't take that and apply it to all situations. But in general, the research they found is that you get more value out of investing in female entrepreneurs than you do out of investing in male entrepreneurs. Now, it doesn't mean to say you shouldn't invest in both, but I do think it's one of those less known pieces of information that's really that we ought to take account of.
So interesting. And now, could we summarize? What opportunities for mentees does business mentoring open up compared to other approaches?
Well, I think you can have a consultant in. The consultant will come and solve a particular problem for you. But it doesn't do anything for you as a person. It doesn't make you a more successful entrepreneur. It just solves a problem in your business. And what mentoring does is actually grow you as an entrepreneur. It gives you the opportunity to really reflect on what is it that makes me successful or is going to make me successful over the coming years. What are the things that I need to be thinking about and managing on my own? I mean, one of the things that comes up time and time again is some of the simple mistakes that people make. And if you've got an entrepreneur or mentor who's made some of these mistakes themselves, that can be invaluable. It can save you an awful lot of trouble, an awful lot of money. One of the things that comes immediately to mind is you're setting up a new business, and you've got a small group of people around you, and you've got someone who's really valuable to you. Maybe they're a salesperson, and they're bringing in a lot of money, and they're helping the business to go. And you want to keep them, so you give them some shares in the business. But then the business grows, and you realise that the level they were operating at was the level they will always be operating at. And actually, you need to bring somebody in who's a much more strategic salesperson. You've outgrown that person, but now they've got a hook into the organisation. How do you actually? It can be very expensive, to do that. And so, if you'd not given that incentive, you might have kept them, and you might have been able to keep them at the level that they're at. But then once you put them into this elevated position, maybe you've made them a director, but they can't think like a director, or certainly not at the level that you need. It's typical of the kind of mistakes that an experienced entrepreneurial mentor can come in and say, I would not suggest that you do that. Think about the implications in the longer term.
And Thanks. And maybe my last question. If we imagine that mentoring is an art, what is the core of this art?
I think, like every art, at the center of every art is a stillness, a calmness.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's finding that place, that calm place, regrouping yourself, not thinking, just being yourself, being authentic, but seeking that stillness where you can actually look at yourself and your reactions to the entrepreneur, so that you can help them to slow down, to stop, and to think and to reflect. And that, I think, makes a really big difference. As an entrepreneur, as a mentor, we can look back on our own career and we can see the lessons we've drawn from it. And we can extrapolate from those lessons that we've drawn some things, some questions that we can ask that can only be asked in stillness if you're going to get somebody to really think about them. And so I think the core of mentoring is that quiet space, that still place. If we go back to the ancient story of the Odyssey, when Athena sits down with Telemachus or his father Odysseus, she sits down with them and creates a quiet space where they can reflect. And they can think about the experiences they've just had and learn from those experiences. That's exactly what we do. We create a stillness in which the arts, whether it's a dance or a painting, a picture, whatever metaphor you want to use, but it comes from that place of quiet.
Thank you a million for your answers, David, and for this fascinating opportunity to interview you today.